Sam leaned back in his chair, emitting a small burp and brushing the last few crumbs of Christmas pudding from his desk. He put his hand to his mouth just a fraction too late and smiled apologetically as several of his colleagues frowned at him in disapproval. Feeling slightly lightheaded after a couple of festive glasses of port, he realised he was bopping along to Frosty the Snowman, attracting more quizzical glances from the finance team, who didn't approve of such jollity even at Christmas. Although it probably didn't help that it was the middle of March, and they had no idea what he was listening to. With what he was fairly confident was an alluring wink at the young accounts assistant Debbie, he removed his earphones. "Frosty the Snowman," he explained helpfully, but this only prompted a look of puzzled contempt from his colleague, who returned to her kale and endami bean salad. Sam looked around the studio to find that none of the rest of the team was paying him any heed. The door opened, and in walked a gaggle of the younger designers, accompanied by a burst of warm air. For the middle of March, it was unseasonably hot, which wasn't helping Sam get into the festive spirit before his Christmas new business calls. He was hoping for a bit more moral support from the team. Honestly, so much for new business being everyone's business. Still, on reflection, the Christmas jumper hadn't been a good idea on the hottest day of the year so far. With the lift out of order, he'd had to walk up 6 flights of stairs to the office, and by the time he'd got to his desk, his armpits were so damp he was embarrassed to take the thing off. And the mistletoe he'd surreptitiously hung over Debbie's desk the previous week wasn't looking too good either. Returning to the matter at hand, he opened up his spreadsheet of the top-performing UK retailers over the recent festive period. The usual suspects were at the top, despite the fact that their Christmas ads hadn't even won any awards, let alone been trending on social media, which, as the entire design team agreed, just goes to show that you can't trust consumers, and you really shouldn't judge work on commercial effectiveness. The storyboard for a speculative campaign the creative director had put together for one of the agency's FMCG clients, in which Frosty the Snowman, funnily enough, appeared to shoppers in the biscuit aisle to explain how the brand's Christmas selection box had been made without the use of palm oil, was gathering dust on the boardroom table, although the man himself was thinking about making it anyway and putting it forward for the Chip Shop Awards, just to make a point. The spreadsheet was big and unwieldy. All the text in the note cells had been wrapped into a tiny column, so it was completely unreadable. Sam sighed. He had meant to upload it all to the CRM, but his MD had insisted on looking over it, and he refused to use the CRM on principle because he said the user interface was ugly. Honestly, sometimes Sam felt that they deliberately made his job difficult, like he was only really there so they had someone to blame when the numbers didn't add up. Sam sneaked another surreptitious glance at Debbie, who was looking quizzically at the forlorn-looking sprig of green hanging from the ceiling above her desk, as if she'd only just noticed it. Typical. Turning back to his spreadsheet, Sam dialed the first number, his palms beginning to sweat. On the other end of the line, the phone began to ring. Sam closed his eyes as the phone continued to ring. At the 4th ring, with an abrupt click, the call connected, but even as Sam began to draw a breath, ready to leave his voicemail message at the beep, everything around him suddenly fell silent. He looked around in surprise, and to his horror, everyone else in the office was frozen, as if in suspended animation. As he watched, the colour seemed to drain from the world, and a sudden heaviness gripped him, weighing him down as he slumped in his chair. A deep voice on the other end of the line suddenly broke the silence. "Hello, Sam." "Hello," he replied in a small voice. "Who is this?" "You can call me Mr. Itter," came the reply. "Mr. Mark Itter. I'm the personification of all the time and money you've wasted over the years cold calling, when you could have been carefully researching prospects and preparing bespoke approaches based on a clear understanding of their marketplace and customers." Sam's throat went dry, and a chill ran down his spine. He'd long harboured a dark secret, the knowledge that cold calling was a waste of time, but a combination of internal pressure to hit targets and being too lazy to come up with an alternative approach had held him back from developing a process that actually worked. "What do you want?" he croaked into the phone. "As penance for the errors of the new business profession, I am forced to wander the kitchens and water coolers of fancy advertising agencies for eternity, weighed down by chains made from old phones and wires. This is the fate that awaits idle new business people who can't be bothered to learn." No, murmured Sam, a vision of the future coming to his mind. This is a warning to you, Sam. You can still escape this fate. Before the day ends, you will be visited by 3 spirits. Heed them well if you wish to mend your ways. The line went dead. Sam stood up as around him colour and life returned to the world, and the normal hubbub of office life rang in his ears once more. Above it all, though, Sam could hear the whirring of the photocopier. He looked across and saw that someone who looked very much like a younger version of himself was sitting bare-bummed on top of the copier, printing copies of his behind. Sam gulped. He remembered that time at the Christmas party when he had slipped away from the end-of-year address by the MD to muck about making a load of printouts of his bum to stick on people's desks. No one else seemed to have noticed what was going on. Sam stood and made his way nervously over to the machine. The figure fixed him with a steely gaze. I am the ghost of Christmas past, it said, and I bring a warning about your flippant ways and general lack of application. If you want new business to be taken seriously as a strategic discipline within this organization and maximize your own chances of career progression, you need to take things more seriously. And with that, the spirit vanished. Sam felt as though he had awoken from a dream. He looked down as one final sheet came out of the printer. It read, very simply, "Oh, and check your email." Sam stumbled back to his desk, still unheeded by his colleagues, who seemed to look through him as though he were a ghost. Hesitantly, he opened his email inbox and clicked on an email headed, Christmas Present. It read, I am the ghost of Christmas present. Annoyed, Steve typed his reply. Is this a wind-up? You could at least have come to the office. Immediately, a response pinged into his inbox. It's 2020, it read. I'm working from home. And I'm not happy about having to work in March anyway. It's well outside my normal remit. Usually I only work in the run-up to Christmas Eve. If it weren't for those pesky clients and their brand planning cycles, I'd be on a beach in the Seychelles. This never happened back in Scrooge's day. Anyway, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to my monthly newsletter covering all aspects of marketing in the automotive trade. People moves, mergers, acquisitions, everything you need to equip you for prospecting in the sector. But we don't target automotive, Steve said aloud. You could at least have done your research. This is just spam. With an almighty ping that left his ears ringing, the response arrived in his inbox. Well, it read in caps. Now you know how your prospects feel. Suddenly, all went quiet again. Everything froze, and the world once again took on that monochrome tinge of suspended reality. The deafening silence was broken after a moment by a faint clatter from the desk of Debbie from accounts, where Sam could see a copper coin had fallen to the floor. Even he could appreciate the cheesy symbolism of the penny dropping. With clunky metaphors like that, maybe we have a chance of landing the John Lewis Christmas ad after all, Sam thought, because he was, first and foremost, a new business guy. Then Debbie rose from her desk, looking suddenly more assertive. Realization dawned on Sam with the inevitability of a grey and rainy Christmas morning in Britain. That's right, Sam, Debbie began, before he could speak. I'm the ghost of Christmas future. But you can call me boss, because that's what I'm going to be around here with my commitment to making sure the numbers add up. And here's your P45. What? Sam stammered. I've conducted a thorough year-end review of our new business activity, and I'm afraid your effectiveness just hasn't met expectations. Your insistence on cold calling and failure to harness the rich sources of marketing and new business intelligence and data that's available to you has led me to conclude that you have no future at such a dynamic and growth-focused agency as this one. Sorry, Sam, you're fired. No, squealed Sam in desperation. Don't do it, Debbie. I can change. I'll do my homework. I'll read the papers. I'll even go to networking events. And I promise I'll never make another cold call. Debbie fixed him with a steely glare. It's not too late to change the future. You've got until Christmas. And with that, she vanished. Sam was suddenly back in his seat, the office just as noisy as normal as the phone continued to ring. Sam slammed it down and leapt from his chair, knocking over a whole pile of pennies one of the account directors had been keeping on her desk until she had enough of them to afford a flat white. I'm sorry, he yelled manically. Let me pick those up for you. I'm a changed man. Pardon? She replied uncertainly. Sorry, it's an overly contrived Christmas carol gag, he babbled as he gathered up the fallen coins. Then he turned to the MD. Right, I've had an epiphany. I've been doing this all wrong. I'm going to write a 12-month business development plan that's strategically aligned with our business objectives and positioning and leverages our core strengths in key horizontals. We need better intel, more compelling content, and a more joined-up approach to optimizing our network and generating more referrals to improve our conversion rate. So, I'm going to put together a fully costed proposal for overhauling our prospect database and subscribing to market intelligence tools like the Advertist, which will better enable us to identify emerging areas of opportunity and develop an effective new business culture. The MD regarded him solemnly, downed his double espresso, and cracked his knuckles meaningfully. Get back on the phone, he replied.